You know, a lot of people in local government and elsewhere make a pretty hefty living by screaming, "The sky is falling, the sky is falling." But in this case, it's actually true. I don't know if you heard about this or not. Bengals home opener, Paul Brown Stadium, against the Atlanta Falcons. Tailgating going on adjacent to Longworth Hall. That's like my favorite spot is either you walk to Longworth or you park under the overpasses, Brent Spence Bridge, near the tracks there and park. You can party, have a good old time. A couple of fans went in, enjoyed the game, saw the Bengals handily defeat Atlanta. They come back, and their car is completely smashed, and they're thinking, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, what's going on over here? And they see about a 1 foot by 1 foot cube of concrete. And they look sitting in the windshield, and they go, well, who the hell threw that? But then they look up and realize that hunk of concrete fell during the game off of the Brent Spence Bridge, where just maybe a couple hours earlier, these people were standing and tailgating. That's pretty frightening. Now, Mark Policinski is the chief. He's the grand poobah of OKI. And I guess this is why we don't need a bridge. It's pretty common to have bridges and overpasses with giant hunks of concrete just falling on Bengals fans and pedestrians, right?
Actually, it's exalted grand poobah. But,
well, congratulations on the promotion.
Yeah. Anyways, this is what we need to realize is the new normal. We have a 50-year-old bridge that was built to handle 4,000 trucks a day. It's now handling over 20,000, right. 80,000 vehicles, 170,000 vehicles dead. And what's going to happen is wear and tear goes on, is that these incidents are going to happen. 2 years ago, we had a big chunk of concrete fall from the upper level to the lower level.
Right.
We had last month or 2 months ago, we had a vehicle actually go from the upper deck to the lower deck because there are no safety lanes. And now, again, we have concrete falling on people.
But people will say, like Steve Frank, I like Stephen Frank, but he is against the bridge. There's others against us, and say, look, there's been a couple of fatalities since the early 60s, 63, when this bridge was put into service, so it's really not that big a deal. Is it just a matter of time before a hunk of concrete falls on somebody's head during a football game? Or during a tailgate party or something along those lines, or when they're commuting home either to or from northern Kentucky?
Well, I don't want to be morbid about something like that happening, but we do have to realize that these incidents are going to happen more and more. And the predicament is that we need a new bridge, and we need the bridge sooner and therefore cheaper. Mm-hmm. And we consequently, by doing so, we're going to reduce these things from happening at the Brent Spence Bridge, because you got to remember, Sloan, that the part of the Brent Spence Bridge project would be a total refurbishing of the current bridge. Mm-hmm. So incidents like this would not happen. But we can't do that refurbishing until we put together the whole package, and that means getting our act together and moving forward and getting the new bridge built sooner, cheaper.
What's disturbing about this is because this is a government entity, is that, hey, there's outcry, but then again, hey, it's an old bridge, things are going to happen. Mark, if this were a private building, let's say, I don't know, up and down the 8 Ball somewhere in Covington, and someone's walking down the street, and a hunk of concrete, a foot by foot, falls instead of 60 feet from the overpass, falls like 30 feet. Wouldn't the government act to shut that building down, to cordon the area off, to make sure that building is up to standards? Why is the standards different? Why are the standards different for private business versus a public entity like ODOT or the bridge?
Well, I think you really raise a great question. I mean, if this were to happen in a private entity, it would be shut down. Mm-hmm. The predicament, of course, is that this is a public good. You can't shut down a bridge unless there's, really, really structural deficiencies because of all the traffic it carries. By the way, the inspections that are going on right now are trying to determine, just how safe things are. The bridge is not going to fall in the river. We know that, right. But we do have to worry about somebody, driving, with their family, and all of a sudden chunk concrete falls from the upper deck and hits that van. It's again, you don't want to get morbid about this, but these things are going to occur more and more often. And the inspections that are going on right now, everybody has their fingers crossed that they don't find anything major, but that they find things that could happen and correct them. And so, government, is government, and you just can't close a bridge,
Can't do it. Unless, of course, it's like one of the many bridges that have fallen to drinking. But before that, all those bridges passed inspection. I think the annual for the Brent Spence is coming up, and I'm sure that'll be just fine, functionally obsolete, but everything's in good shape. All the other bridges have collapsed in America also had the same rating. Everything was fine until it wasn't.
Yeah, one of the predicaments you have when you build a bridge to handle 4,000 trucks, and it's been handling over 20,000 trucks for decades. And I'm not an engineer, don't pretend to be one, and don't want to breathe out fear here.
Well, I am, Mark, and this is a bridge. That bridge is horrible. I'm telling you, technically, as a trained engineer myself, that bridge is labeled. It sucks, is what it.
Yeah, well, it is. Got to look at it like this. Mm-hmm. We've just had 3 miracles happen where we've had really traumatic things, and nobody was hurt.
Fortunately, this time. This time. And then, God forbid, it does happen and there is a fatality or serious injury, then there'll be the backpedaling and excuse-making, and special committees have to be formed, and we've got to do something about this. And it's the adage I've used many times, Mark Policinski of OKI, is that, if you live in a neighborhood and there's a dangerous intersection there, but there's no stoplight, you can cry and beg and plead for a light to be put in, but it's not until an 8-year-old kid dies on his bicycle do the politicians show up with the cameras in tow saying something must be done. So someone has to die before something gets done. Well,
unfortunately, it's a tragic truth that you just told, and that's why what's going to happen in the Kentucky legislature this coming winter is so very, very important.
Is this going to happen? Is Kentucky going to go okay with this thing? Because there are so many different entities pushing for this thing not to happen that is the fear, although everyone you talk to seems to think it's a good idea. Right now, where does it stand? What do you think happens with this?
Well, it goes to the Kentucky legislature, and what happened last year is a public-private partnership bill passed overwhelmingly through both houses, which would allow for private entities to be involved in building of public goods. That was great. However, an anti-tolling amendment was attached, which would prevent tolling from being a financial solution to part of the Brent Spence Bridge project, and the governor vetoed it. Right. And he said he was not going to be part and parcel of an effort that really would prevent the Brent Spence Bridge from being replaced. So we'll see what happens. I assume there's going to be a public-private partnership bill again this legislature in Kentucky. I think it has overwhelming support, and we'll just see how it plays out.
You're saying the toll idea isn't dead. A lot of people have said it's dead, but you're thinking maybe not.
No, the toll idea is not dead. I mean, a lot of people. I mean, when I speak on this subject, weekly, I travel all around the region. People understand that this bridge needs to be replaced. They understand how dangerous it is and how much it affects their jobs. They have an understanding. They don't have to listen to people on either side. They just know it inside, their gut. And they also know that the federal government is broke. Everybody knows that. And everybody knows that, therefore, one of the things you have to do to finance this is probably to have tolls. And you've got to make those tolls as small as possible. The states and the federal government somehow have to get involved. But at the end of the day, no, people are saying the toll idea is dead, are wishing it were dead, and not really working with us to try to find an adequate solution to the financial package to build a damn bridge.
Yeah,
so it won't fall on people's heads.
Right. And obviously, I support the toll thing. I think that's the way to go. Other areas do it. You could do it without giving. I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I think that has to go. The other thing you